Hello, welcome to our session. My name is Mohammed Al Salim. I'm the Director of Projects Department at the Arab Gulf Program for Development. This session is to feature our prize winners in the subject of decent work and economic growth, SDG number 8 in the 17 United Nations Sustainable Development Goals 2030. And we are very proud and pleased of our esteemed winners, whom we honored last night in a very exciting and enjoyable award ceremony held last night. And four winners representing four categories from international organizations, NGOs, government, and also individuals. Just a little background on the prize. The prize was established in 1999, so it's now about 23 years old. With the aim of exploring pioneering projects and trying to give them some support to scale them up and also expanding them in same geographical areas or other countries of other geographical countries to include more people, more beneficiaries on the pioneering project that won the prize. So just a little bit of introduction to my esteemed guest. I have Mr. Tony, Deputy of DBN, Development Bank of Nigeria, who won the prize for the first category. Ms. Sophie Dong, the implementing agency for the first category winner from the World Bank. Ms. Huda Dahroug from the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology in Egypt. And Mr. David from Kenya, who won the prize for the on the individual category, and Mr. Ghassan from Palestine on the cash for work and self-employment project in Gaza, Palestine. So I'll start first with Mr. Tony on the project implemented in Nigeria. Mr. Tony, if you can tell us a little bit more about some of the key challenges that you faced while implementing the project, and what made you successful? How do you think you were successful in winning the AgFund prize, the Prince Talal prize?
Thank you very much. Again, let me start by showing our appreciation of the prize, the process, and the support. And thank you again. Congratulations once again for a very exciting and successful ceremony that took place yesterday. Lashing on what Sophie said from yesterday about the project in terms of the need that arose for setting up the project itself. And I'll take a step back. In Nigeria, the micro, small, and medium enterprises are the bedrock of Nigerian economy. We have over 41 million of them. So if you want to make an impact, issues around job creation, empowerment of youth, women, and all that, you need to make an impact on the micro, small, and medium enterprises. So there was a huge gap in access to credit for them. So this project came around with the World Bank and other development partners, came together with the federal government of Nigeria to set up the Development Bank of Nigeria to address those financing constraints for micro, small, and medium enterprises. So the gap in financing for micro, small, and medium enterprises already existed. Then DBN came on board as a new DFI as a wholesale DFI with 3 core mandates. Again, on lending, for wholesale on lending. Second, like Sophia mentioned yesterday, technical assistance. And of course, the third part of it was to provide partial credit guarantee. All these to financial institutions to encourage them to lend to micro, small, and medium enterprises. So those are the things and the channels we use to be able to reach out. So coming out, as I mentioned before, the huge need for access to credit, also catalyzing more funding for the for the financial institutions, for the MSMEs themselves, was the huge challenge that we needed to deal with. And when we came up, we had to set up structures in a place, because we're about 6 years old, set up structures in place to be able to ensure that we have partnerships with the right financial institutions, with the commercial banks, with the microfinance banks, other financial institutions, to ensure that we are able to create channels to provide our wholesale lending to them. That's also included, we had to do some capacity building for a lot, especially on the microfinance side, capacity building to ensure that they are able to understand the lending and, of course, encourage them to lend to micro, small, and medium enterprises. And thirdly, there's a need for partial credit guarantee, which we also identify. So we set up a subsidiary called Impact Credit Guarantee to address the issues of partial credit guarantee. So ultimately, approaching it from these 3 different angles, we're able to ensure that we begin to get financial institutions to begin to provide access to credit for them. And one of the things we also try to do is to bring in startups, new businesses who are just starting. We focus a lot on the youth-owned businesses because, as you are aware, Nigeria has a youthful population. So we had huge population, and unemployment a major issue there. So we also have to ensure that we focus on the youth. And then thirdly, we also have to, on the women-owned businesses. Women are a bit disadvantaged when it comes to access to credit in Nigeria. So we also ensure that we focus on it. When I share results on what we've done so far, you see that those 3 areas we quite pretty much focus on.
Thank you very much. This is well, I think it will be a very well and rooted, established bank where it provides financial services to SMEs, MSMEs, and I'm really happy that part of your segment is you are considering women also, women entrepreneurs. I'll turn now to Mr. Ghassan, our second prize winner for the NGOs. Mr. Ghassan, you work for the NGO Development Center in Palestine, and you have implemented Gaza Emergency Cash for Work and Self-Employment Support. Can you give us a little bit more background on your project? How did you implement it, and what are some of challenges that you faced in implementing the project, especially that you are working in a conflicted area, I would say?
Okay, thank you very much. And I repeat my thanks of yesterday. We're very grateful to the prize we received from the AG Fund. Maybe a little bit of background about NDC, because this seems like an awkward position where an NGO provides support to another NGO, but NDC is mandated to provide technical and financial support to other non-governmental organizations operating in Palestine. This means that NDC never does direct service delivery. Our mandate is to strengthen and empower the NGO sector so that it takes its role better to provide quality services, especially to those who are poor and marginalized in unserved or underserved areas, and in doing a complementary role with the services provided by the government. So we try to fill a gap in service delivery by empowering NGOs. This project in Gaza is a very interesting project. And what I will describe is, of course, the situation in Gaza before the war. At the time the project was designed, it was designed to respond to the urgent and emergency situation in Gaza, resulting from several factors, including economic growth coming almost to a virtual halt, very high unemployment rates, one of the highest in the whole world. You're talking about a population who lives in 365 kilometers squared, 2.3 million, one of the highest population densities in the whole world, completely closed, movement of people and access of goods, and is all controlled by Israel. So there is a limit on what these people can do. There was a decline in aid going to Palestine, specifically to Gaza, and this largely affected the provision of services and jobs. Of course, the continuous outbursts, the frequent outbursts of conflict, always disrupt the growth, the economic growth in Gaza. There is a high percentage of educated youth in Gaza. There are several universities, and they received very well education, but never had the opportunity to be on the job. So this project came to address these main issues, and it's called the Gaza Emergency Project, cash for work and self-employment support, and it intended to provide short-term employment to youth in Gaza and increased access to self-employment. So it never intended to put people on jobs and say, oh, those people we placed are still on the job, on the workplace. It intended to provide the opportunity to people to be able to, at least once in their life, have hope and be on the job. And the way we implemented this is we implemented this as part of our mandate, because our mandate is to provide technical and financial support to other NGOs. So the project was designed in terms of two main components. The first component, which is the large component, is cash for work, and the second component is e-work. I'll talk first about the first component. Cash for work is the component, tries to implement youth with NGOs for cycles of 6 months, and then you do a rotation, other beneficiaries come in and get employed for 2 cycles. And the way we did it is we selected NGOs from Gaza to implement this first component, competitive selection, and we selected 23 NGOs, mainly working in the sectors of education and health, because those were services that were very much lacking in Gaza. So it was an opportunity not only to employ youth, but also to enable NGOs to provide services, very much needed services in Gaza. The plan was to employ 4,000 youth, and at least 50% of them women. We ended up employing 5,200 youth, 70% of them women. And the project seemed to be very much appealing to women. And it also helped, in closing gender gaps and working on women empowerment, though this was not one of the intended objectives of the project. The second component is a bit very interesting, the way it fitted the situation in Gaza because of restrictions on movement and the inability of people to go in and out. It helped youth in Gaza to become freelancers, e-workers, therefore using their skills while they are at home and be able to work and generate income. So do cross-border work, even though they are not allowed to leave Gaza. And the target was to train 750 youth. We were able to train 1,300. And again, we didn't do the work ourselves. We selected service providers who provided a package of skills building and training and mentoring and coaching. So people would be for 2 to 3 months in like some training on freelancing training, language training, and how to build your proposal on the employment networks. And then 6 months of coaching to help them get jobs and gigs and so on. And 89% of those trained received at least one job while still on the training in the first 3 months. People in Gaza are very much willing to live, and they like to live abundantly, and they're willing to do whatever they can do to improve their lives. So they put lots of effort, and actually it was a very high success rate. The project was repeated also in the West Bank due to its success, and we currently received some more financing for the same components, also from the World Bank, but this time focusing more on mental health and psychosocial health. The e-work continues to be an important component for Gaza. Unfortunately, just as we started, the war erupted and this project is now suspended.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ghassan, and we hope this current war will end very soon, and people just can live in peace out there. Ms. Huda Dahroug from the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology in Egypt. If you can, please give us some little background on your project, the steps taken while preparing for the project, and some of the key milestones achieved in the project, please.
Thank you for being here again, and thank you for the great award of yesterday. It was a great pleasure. Let me start by our project, the Digital Transformation for Sustainable Development. This is the name of the project, and it's very aligned with the SDGs and Egypt 2030 strategy. Definitely with MCIT, Ministry of Communication and Information Technology, to build digital Egypt. So the project is provide digital skills and digital services to engage many categories, especially in the remote areas, to be engaged in the, to have a self-employment or have a decent job in their communities. Because it's a problem that we are 27 governorates in Egypt. Some of them is on the border, some of them is very far from the capital. So finding opportunities in the same community is very difficult. So taking that challenge and opportunity at the same time, the challenge of reduce the unemployment rate in Egypt, which it's not so bad, it's now 77%, but the most portion of this percentage is women and people with disabilities. So we need to engage these categories in the manpower. And on the other hand, the opportunity of the ICT, the power of ICT, how ICT is a great opportunity to make it many chances to people to have jobs. I think the best thing to overcome the challenges of the communities is to hear to them. We need a very good need assessment before we started, and we select some area. We started with 5 governorates at the beginning because the culture is different from place to place, but there is a common challenges. So we hear from them. We hear from the woman that said that the handicraft special woman, we target the handicrafts woman, that I'm ready to make more products and to grow my volume of this product, but who will buy? She faced a difficulty of marketing. So we decided that the design of the project to give them skills of the e-marketing, to engage them to the social media, how to use the social media for making e-marketing, how to aware them by the platforms for the e-commerce, how to be ready for the e-commerce. the challenge of change the mindset for people in these areas is very, very, very high. So we have to go make a lot of awareness, create trust, interest, then engage them in the solution. They will sustain and make a peer-to-peer sharing knowledge and disseminate waves of success to each other. So this is one of a success key. The other thing is a partnership. We have to build a very good partnership with the other entities, other governments, like Ministry of Social Solidarity, Ministry of Manpower, because we are together can integrate to align together what we provide of digital skills, what the jobs needed and avail, because we need also to change when we grow and when we achieve a number of people. We find the lesson learned that we have to govern, as a government, change policies, especially for the people with disabilities. There is a new law for the people with disabilities, new law for you have to affect to implement the 5% of contracting people with disabilities and not contracting them and leave them at home. We have to let them really go to work. So to go to work, they have to have accessibility. So the employer have to have a sort of accessibility for some impairment. If it's a physical impairment, needed some accessibility, or the environment itself, the people, the staff, how to find a job coach for everyone at the beginning to be on board in the company. So we develop a platform. That platform is specialized for the people with disabilities and for the employer who wants to contracting people with disabilities, and they have to assign which disabilities can afford the employer at the beginning. And the job seeker for people with disabilities have to put a good profile, what they need, what their specific needs, if he has a company with him all the time, if not, so what accessibility they need, and something like this. And at the same we engage the organization that give a training, so the cycle will be closed after a while, after a good data, what the gap between the capabilities of the people with disabilities, that always a stereotype that they don't have any capabilities. They are disabled, so they don't have any capabilities. But the people with disabilities said, yes, we have some impairment, but we have some capabilities. We are disabled by the companies that don't give job and something like that. And the third category was the youth in the remote areas, for maybe like Ghassan, the freelancing. A lot of people and a lot of youth doesn't know how the freelancing platforms can avail very good jobs, but they have to be skilled with the skills needed for this freelancing jobs, and the e-learning becoming another skills to have to be in the schools and in the universities for the students to make a good content. And there is a lot of jobs now depending on the content itself, depending on how to make a good content. The bloggers, the succeeded one is when we put a good content, a good video content, attractive standards, but a lot of them go and disappear after a while because they don't know how to make a good content. I don't want to go more. There is a lot to say.
Thank you very much, Ms. Huda. Can we play video number 3? So it's your video.
Yes.
And then we will go back to your videos later.
الحياة رحلة هدفنا فيها إننا نخلي كل حاجة حوالينا أفضل. رحلة كلها إصرار ورغبة في التطوير والتغيير. اتوحدت فيها أهداف وزارة الاتصالات وتكنولوجيا المعلومات مع الأهداف العالمية والوطنية لتحقيق التنمية المستدامة، واللي من أهمها الاستثمار في بناء الإنسان وخفض معدل البطالة بشكل كبير بحلول عام 2030. نجح مشروعنا في تسريع النمو الاقتصادي والاجتماعي من خلال رفع مهارات الشباب وخلق فرص عمل جديدة للفئات الأكثر احتياجاً، وده من خلال 3 محاور، وقدرنا نتغلب معاهم على التحديات اللي بتواجه أصحاب المؤهلات العليا والمتوسطة منهم للحصول على فرص عمل ملائمة في مجال تكنولوجيا المعلومات. وفي وسط رحلتنا قابلنا في مشروعنا قصص نجاح كتير فيها من الابتكار والمشاركة والدمج والاستدامة في كل محافظات مصر.
كنت حابه ان انا اسوق المنتج بتاعي، بس ما كنتش عارفه ازاي او طريقه تسويق، وخصوصا ان احنا شمال سيناء منطقه حدوديه صعب جدا ان حد يوصل لها. فسمعت عن مبادره قدوتك واشتركت فيها. فالاول كان الموضوع بالنسبه لي صعب، لان ما كانش عندي خلفيه عن السوشيال ميديا ويعني ايه فيسبوك ويعني ايه تويتر. بدات ان انا بعد ما انتهي الكورس كل مره ابدا اطبق. فجيت ان في حد من العملاء كلمني من خارج مصر من السعوديه، وطلب مني ان انا عايز يشوف المنتج بتاعي ويتكلم، يعني يعرف اللي هو الاسعار ويعرف المقاسات والالوان. فمن هنا بدات معايا الانطلاقه ان انا ازاي ان انا اصدر حاجتي بره مصر.
انت هتدخل على المنصه هتلاقي فرصه عمل موجوده، هتشوف المؤهلات اللي عندك هل مناسبه لكده او لا. طب لو مؤهلاتي مش مناسبه، اقدر ادخل على مقدمي الخدمات الاخرين، اخد دورات، اخد كورسات، احضر ورك شوب، فاؤهل نفسي ان انا ابقى مناسب للشغلانه دي. بعد كده اعمل ابلاي واقدم على الشغلانه. فانت من خلال مكان واحد تقدر تتدرب وتطور من نفسك وتقدم على وظيفه.
هي أنا خدت التدريب بالفعل، وبعدين اختاروني إن أنا أكون مدربة في المشروع. أخدت تدريب TOT، ومباشرة بعد التدريب انتقلت لمحافظة الإسماعيلية، دربت فيها مجموعتين، وبعدين انتقلت مطروح دربت مجموعة. زادت ثقتي في نفسي أكتر، فكان تجربة مميزة واستفدت منها كتير جدا.
انبسطت جدا ان انا اتقابلت من وسط ناس كتيره. كنت متحمسه جدا للموضوع. الاول ما كنتش اعرف يعني ايه ان انا اقرا دوائر الكترونيه، عرفت ده وعرفت ان انا ابني بورده ازاي، وعرفت يعني ايه ريزيستور، يعني ايه كاباستور، وحاجات كتيره اتعلمتها هتفيدني ان انا ممكن افتح مشروع صيانه الكترونيات. عندي في المنطقه اللي انا فيها ما فيش ولا بنت في المجال ده.
مفهوم الوزاره اللي وصلته لينا ان حطتنا على اول الطريق وقالت لنا انطلق، واحنا اشتغلنا على ده كويس وهم ساعدونا كتير. انا واحد من الناس عينت في شغل واترقيت فيه بعد 3 اشهر بس، مع ان كان داخل معايا الاختبار بتاع المسابقه ناس كتير مؤهل عالي، والحمد لله انا خدت منهم الوظيفه دي بمساعده الكورس طبعا، وانا دلوقتي مشرف خط انتاج في شركه.
الحمد لله احنا حققنا قصص نجاح كتير. كل المدرسين هنا عدد كبير جدا يعني دخل في المبادره دي وشارك في التدريب، وانا كنت واحده من 5 قصص نجاح. كان مشروعي من افضل المشاريع الحمد لله بفضل الله. قدرت ان انا ادمج كل وسائل التكنولوجيا في تعلم الطلاب بهدف نشر ثقافه التعلم الالكتروني.
والنهارده وبحصولنا على جائزة الأمير طلال الدولية للتنمية البشرية، رحلتنا هتستمر وتكمل عشان نحقق بقية طموحاتنا اللي كل لحظة بتكبر مع التطورات التكنولوجية والتغييرات المستمرة في احتياجات سوق العمل، وبيها نقدر نوصل فرص أكتر لذوي الإعاقة والشباب والنساء في كل مكان في مصر.
Thank you, Ms. Huda. This is really impressive. What you do is touching the skills and employment directly with beneficiaries and focusing on women, and also marketing their products on social media. This is really appreciated. I'll turn now to our 4th winner from the individuals category, Mr. David Kogo. Mr. David, you have won the prize on your project, JobSerger Women Employment Program that have been implemented in Kenya. If you can just tell us how did you start the initiative since this is an individual category, so it should be started by your good self. How did you start it, and how did you transform this initiative into an institution that carried on implementing the project, please?
Thank you very much, and I'm still excited for winning the project. Yeah, so I want to just give you the background of our organization, although it is an individual. So in Kenya, you have to register an organization. So there is a group, there is an organization registration at which work at the grassroots levels called community-based organization, which is it's a sort of NGOs. So in Kenya, government support and international aid rarely reach the grassroots level or at the village level. So how we started our project is that while I was working at the Lake Bogoria hot spring side, where tourists visit the hotels to see the animals, to see the famous Masai Mara in Kenya, I saw the suffering of women who visit the hotels to beg for helms from tourists. So with a like-minded colleague, we devised a plan of how to help these women. So in 2021, we devised an innovative plan of how to raise money so that we can start a project for these women. So in the process, we approached the tourist management hotels together with the tourists who visited the hot springs and the Masai Mara reserves to donate some money meant for a meal. So we told them you can miss a meal so that you can donate to help this mama. So the project succeeded. So in just 3 months, we managed to raise a fantastic amount of Kenya shilling 600,000 equivalent. So within a month, we mobilized about 100 women. We trained them in small handcraft manufacturing. We co-designed with them the best product, which are demand-driven at the level market. So we trained them on beadworks, eco bags, because there is a ban of plastic bags in Kenya. So we saw the opportunity of that. Train eco bags and beadworks and handcraft. So the project succeeded. We encouraged them to make some saving and to employ one more women at their enterprises. So that's how we managed to start our project. And by the end of last year, we managed to establish 6 SMEs where they are manufacturing eco bags, beadworks, and selling through YouTube platforms, Facebooks, and the other, So with the ACFund support, we hope to recruit more, about 200 women, establish 6 SMEs, modern SMEs, and we'll be able to sell our project within the East African region and worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. David. Can we show film number 4? Film 4.
My name is Anastasia Chebet. I'm 21 years old. I completed my secondary education in 2019, and for the last 2 years, I've been at home without any job. Being born and raised in a rural area, it is hard to get employment. In July 2021, I heard from a friend about Cheptegei Women Program. I applied for an internship in handcraft making, and after 3 months in the program, I was employed as a paper bag designer specialist. I'm very grateful for this program, and I'm able to raise a decent income.
Women in rural areas are the most affected by this problem of unemployment, making them to be vulnerable. It is for this reason that JEPSEGAR Women Employment Program was started in the year 2021 by Mr. David Kogo, who championed the project to address unemployment for rural women in Rift Valley, Kenya. The project enables young women to make eco bags, beadworks, and envelopes, and in just over a year has enabled over 150 women to get decent jobs and making them to be breadwinners in their communities. The project has generated over Kenya shillings 2 million in revenue in the last 1 year. The project enabled registered women to work collectively in the handicraft value chain in the manufacturing and selling their finished products, enabling them to achieve their economic empowerment, especially in remote rural villages in Kenya. The prize money that we shall receive from Prince Talal International Prize for Human Development will enable us to expand our projects, employing over 200 women in micro enterprises, making JEPSEGAR Women Employment Program to become one of the major employment providers in rural Kenya in the next 3 years.
Thank you, Mr. David. Now I'll turn to our first winner, either Sophie or Mr. Tony. What do you think is the way forward for DBN, for the Development Bank of Nigeria? What are you going to do with the prize that you are receiving? And what impact can you do in the future with the prize?
Thank you very much. I think I have the privilege of sharing the microphone with you, so let me enjoy that privilege. Thank you again. At DBN, I think from the experience we've had in the last 6 years, one thing has come out clearly is to say startup businesses are a major challenge in terms of finance for them, in terms of giving them startup grant to be able to start their business. Let me put it in context. Nigeria, like I mentioned, over 200 million people. Out of that, you have a greater percentage of the population as youth, under 25 years. So they have that strong entrepreneurial spirit at this stage, and they all want to start something. And if you know, a lot of Nigerian businesses are also scaled up internationally. So we found out that that's a key area we need to make impact. So in coming up with DBN, we came up with a grant framework to look at how do we catalyze more funding grants from other development partners we work with, and including setting up some percentage of our own profit to ensure that we're able to put some funds together to provide startup capital for small businesses. So that's a key area we know that we need to make an impact so that we'll be able to scale up these businesses. For us, looking at this, the prize we won, 4 areas we're looking at specifically to see how we can deploy. One is in the area of providing technical assistance, again, for the setup of these startup businesses. Now, not only everywhere in Nigeria, but in the conflict areas in Nigeria. We have the Northeast, which is strictly challenged because of the conflict that has been there the last almost a decade now. So there, in addition to having challenges in terms of startups, the business to thrive in that area is even more challenging because of the conflict in that area. So we want to set up, do technical assistance to set up for setting up business in those areas. The second thing, again, is to see how we can set up a boot camp for youth, in the STEM, the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics area, so that we'll be able to create more awareness and draw their attention to that. And the third part of it, again, how do we also provide some little bit of startup capital for startup businesses in the northeast in Nigeria due to conflict, but the northwest of Nigeria due to challenging economic environment. So we want to see how we can encourage youth to be able to do that. So altogether, we think we deploy it in addition to our own resources to see how we can make impact, because that's a major part. One thing is to provide access to credit, but the greater part also is to start the business, and before you grow it, to be able to access credit. So we're looking at how we can deploy this to areas of how do we build new startups, how do we bring on the youthful population into that ecosystem.
I'd like to add to what Tony just said, because he mentioned a very important point of a strategic partnership. So I think most of the PFIs in Nigeria do recognize MSE financing as part of the growth sector. However, not all the PFIs thinks the same. In some, like I mentioned yesterday, that one of the supply side challenges that some of the PFIs, they focus more on large enterprises, on the blue chip oil sector, or on the government securities to secure a return, guaranteed return on investment. So right now, DBN is working on a large set of financial institutions, both the commercial banks and the microfinance banks. But throughout the implementation period, we found that in some cases, in fact, the microfinance banks are really incentivized to grow the MSME lending sector. However, currently, their balance sheet is relatively small compared to the volume that are produced by the commercial banks. Therefore, I think it is an opportune time for DBN to think about whether or not who is the strategic partner that they should work with. Should we focus on a lot of different type of institutions, or focus on supporting a few institutions that are really interested in growing the MSME financing portfolio? Secondly, I think from expanding beyond formal financial institutions, there's a variety of partners that DBN can consider to collaborate with, from the fintechs, from the corporations, from the mobile operators, and all from the large enterprise themselves who has a defined supply chain to provide credit financing. So I think DBN would need to expand its landscape in terms of both product offerings and partnership selection. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sophie. Can you video number 1, please?
The Development Bank of Nigeria is the outcome of the World Bank Development Finance Project. Through collaboration with the federal government of Nigeria and other development partners, DBN provides access to finance for micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in Nigeria.
Micro, small, and medium enterprises forms the backbone of the Nigerian economy, given that they account for about 50% of the country's GDP and 80% of its total employment. However, lack of access to finance limits the growth opportunities for these enterprises, especially given the underdeveloped credit infrastructure, lack of long-term funding, and high collateral requirements. In 2014, the World Bank Board approved the Nigeria Development Finance Project, which is a 500 million IBRD loan to support the Nigerian government to establish a new and sustainable development finance institution, leveraging its sound institutional framework and corporate governance structure, as well as its efficient operating model.
The Development Bank of Nigeria is delighted to have won the Prince Talal International Prize for Human Development, awarded by the Arab Gulf Programme for Development, AGFund, in recognition of its contribution to promoting the 8th United Nations Sustainable Development Goal in Nigeria, which speaks to promoting decent work and economic growth. This prize once again shows AgFund's commitment in enhancing human and social development as a pathway to achieving the UN sustainability goals. This aligns closely with DBN's mandate of alleviating financing constraints for Nigeria's unserved and underserved micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, especially those owned by women, youth, startups, first-time borrowers, and enterprises located in economically disadvantaged locations.
DBN seeks to fulfill 3 key mandates. The first one, lending. DBN increases access to finance for MSMEs by lending to participating financial institutions, that is, commercial banks, microfinance banks, and other financial institutions for on-lending to Nigerians' underserved MSMEs. The second mandate is capacity building and technical assistance. The third part of our mandate is partial credit guarantees.
This grant funding is crucial because it provides DBN another opportunity to scale its impact to more underserved Nigerian MSMEs. So, what will the Talal grants do for DBN?
The Nigeria Development Finance Project achieved great success given that the project surpassed all of its development indicators. Now that the World Bank project has closed, the continued success of DBN relies on its capability to further explore development financing initiatives and to diversify its portfolio by tapping into new and innovative financing instruments such as fintech and private equity space. It is also very important to continuously engage with financial institutions to further enhance their lending capacities to the micro, small, and medium enterprises.
Development Bank of Nigeria, financing sustainable growth.
Thank you, Tony and Sophie. I'll turn now to Mr. Ghassan again. One last question for you. What do you think, how do you think can you continue the project and impact, kind of impact that this prize would leave on people in the ground?
Yes, we've already made some efforts to continue the same work we've been doing on the project. So we try to get some additional financing to further support youth in Gaza and support jobs. And we have this additional 7 million on top of the 17 million which were part of our project. And impact and sustainability in this project mainly lies in the e-work component rather than the cash for work component. The cash for work is more giving opportunities to youth who have received university graduates, the opportunity to be on the job, a sense of hope for the future, and also some income as a safety net for themselves and their families to try to mitigate the hardships of the people in Gaza. We will use, of course, the award to do some further support in Gaza, mainly in the e-work component when the situation allows.
Thank you very much. Can you play video number 2, please?
أنا اسمي ميسة عادل طبازة، عمري 30 سنة، منفصلة، بسكن في مخيم الشاطئ للاجئين. درست في الكلية الجامعية للعلوم التطبيقية في 2008، تخرجت في 2013 تخصص علاج نطق ومشاكل الكلام. قعدت فترة 8 سنوات ما في فرصة عمل نهائياً، انتشر رابط إنه في المال مقابل العمل طالبين كتير تخصصات وكتير خريجين ما اشتغلوا. من خلالهم قدمت الطلب والحمد لله بعد شهرين تم قبولي في البرنامج. بعد ما أتيحت إلي الفرصة صار عندي أمل وعندي الطموح، صرت أحلم لقدام، صرت من إنسانة انطوائية لإنسانة اجتماعية بتقدم نصائح وبتخدم فئات ذوي الاحتياجات الخاصة.
لم أحلم أبداً بالنجاح، لكني كافحت لأجله. هذه قصتي، رنا عكيلة. بدأ اهتمامي في مجال الترجمة من اهتمامي أساساً في اللغة الإنجليزية من الثانوية العامة، وهذا كان هدف لي في دراستي الجامعية. والآن وبفضل الفرصة التي أتاحها لي مشروع لوجن، بالإضافة للإثراء على مهاراتي في الترجمة، فتح لي آفاقاً جديدة في مجال كتابة المحتوى بشتى أنواعه. اشتغلت على أكثر من مشروع مع أكثر من زبون، وكانت النتائج كتير كويسة. كان له أثر بارز كتير بحياتي. كرنا أعطاني الفرصة لأني أرجع من ثقتي بنفسي وبمهاراتي في مجال الترجمة، بالإضافة إلى قدرتي على إنجاز الأعمال بجودة وكفاءة عالية.
Well, since Mr. Tony is leaving us for another session, we are taking a group photo of speakers just before he leaves, if you are. We are just left with two more questions for Huda and David, if you allow. Ms. Huda, what's your plan for the prize? Are you going to move to another geographical areas or to include more beneficiaries? How are you going to replicate this project?
So definitely we are going to scale it up to more geographical areas, more numbers, and maybe we got, after studying a preliminary output and outcomes survey, we got some needs for a platform for the women to combine all the specific industries value chain, because when we working with the handicraft women, we found a lot of missing يعني skills, not the digital skills in the entrepreneurship area itself. So we need to gather all the specific information for the industry and to put it together on a platform, mobile application, so they will be a helpful tool with them. Also, we need to avail our digital skills of the social media, e-marketing skills and e-commerce skills to be on a mobile self-trained. We need to document videos, tutorial videos for the handicrafts itself, so we can use the ICT and the skills another women in another area with how to learn the specific handy skills. So this is a main focus rather than, beside the scaling up on the geographical and numbers. Definitely for the people with disabilities, we are not yet mature for the platform, for the network platform that we did for recruitment jobs. So we need more campaign, marketing campaign, more awareness, more developing guides for the employers to know what is the skills and the standards to deal with people with disabilities, what the accessibility need is. We have to connect with technical people for the assistive tools to be train the employer on it. And the freelancing is not stop the technology upgrading every now and then. So the content and the courses for the freelancing still we develop. As I said yesterday, the project is not static, it's dynamic because it's using the ICT. So when the ICT is growing, when the AI becoming the core of life now, so we start to give courses for the handicraft women, how to use the AI for support them in their e-marketing, find their persona, find their marketing plan, and also the design on the top using the Mid Journey, all the platform that AI can help in it. And also for the freelancing, how to use the AI and other courses, the IoT, and a lot of things to be a competitor worldwide. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck with your plans, Dr. Houda. Mr. David, how do you think the prize can add to the sustainability of your NGO?
Thank you so much for your question again. As I said before, we have at our pipeline or in our waiting list about 200 women and youths who are waiting to be empowered. So with ACFund support, we are going to train these women in micro enterprises, because small enterprises is the way to go in Kenya, because big industries are not doing well now. So we are going to train them in manufacturing, eco-bags, beadworks. We have already markets across the Masai Mara where tourists come to visit. But in terms of sustainability, the project in its nature is capacity building. And they will continue to implement what they have done before. And we are a community-based organization. We shall remain with them for a very long time to come, providing any necessary support after the ACFund support. Thank you.
Thank you, and good luck also with your plan. Let's give a final round of applause to our winners, and congratulations again, and we hope that our cooperation continues beyond the prize, as we do. ACFund is always keen on supporting the winners of the prize, not only with the prize but also with direct financial support when receiving sound and good project proposal. Thank you very much. It was my pleasure to be with you here in this panel. Thank you. Well, if there are some questions from the floor, we can take some.
I'll be very short. I have one observation and some clarifications I need to make, especially in Kenya. You know, I looked at these 4 projects, and I looked at the number of population in each project, in each country. You're talking about 2.3 million, you're talking about 200 million, you're talking about more 100 million in Egypt. I think this has got a reflection on 2 issues, which is employability as well as market linkage. for the products. If we look at it from these two sides only, I think the credit should go to Gaza because they are working on a very difficult situation in terms of, that's why there is employability. And that makes things even more difficult if it comes to the issue of employability and also the issue of marketing. So if you look at it this way, I think the Gaza issue is more difficult to apply, and that's why I feel that they have to have, to be congratulated for these things. The other thing about Kenya, you talk about credit linkages.
I mean Nigeria.
Kenya, I'm sorry.
No, Nigeria.
No, they have credit, guarantee and capacity building. Nigeria, yeah?
Yeah, it's Nigeria.
Credit is okay. I mean, linking to banks, there is one model or not less than two models. But I'm very concerned about the business model for the grantee because I know that the grantee can take different shapes. Also, the capacity building. I want more information with regard to the types of capacity building, which is not shown in the presentation as well as in the video. For Gaza, Ghassan, you have been talking about the cross-border workers or working opportunities. Now, I didn't get anything about the types of work that they can get across border. So can you give us more about these things? The third question is related to all of them, and I don't need maybe all of you to answer this question if there is no time. But I'm very concerned about replicability. I think you have mentioned it before, but I was expecting you to answer them. This is a model that is workable and successful and innovative in your area, in your country. How I can, for example, spread it to other countries in Africa and in the Middle East? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay. You want to answer?
Sorry. My one is, if it's okay, just a short comment. I just wanted to thank you very much for this prize. I think the extraordinary thing about the Ag Fund in providing this prize is that if you look at the different projects, building on what he has said, there's a lot of opportunity from learning from each other. From the Nigerian project, for instance, the critical thing about it is the scale. That is to say, use the money to get others to also be involved in supporting the projects and therefore generating large levels of employment. For the Gaza project, for instance, the e-work component, the Nigerian project can learn from that, and also from the Egypt. If you look at the marketing, telemarketers using, IT and so on, how to market these products. So in other words, there is tremendous opportunity for learning from each other. And given the fact that you've supported them, I think that can provide a focus for taking this learning so that each can benefit from each other. And there's also, I have to observe, that common to all the projects is the fact that women have played a leading role in expanding it and getting it to succeed. I have to observe that. And lastly, what I wanted to say is that I have been to many of these sessions, and what I have found is that on climate change, there is the constant emphasis that the governments must create policies and projects in order to benefit from funding. But I think what these projects have demonstrated is that it's not only governments, but the fact that organizations can develop initiatives which can attract, which can generate success and therefore attract external resources in addition to local ones. I think this is something which the climate change and financing can learn from these projects in general, and you can put them together. Thank you.
Thank you. I indeed agree with you. I agree with you. organizations, CSOs play vital role in this. They can also encourage governments to make sound policies and regulations for climate change, not only from learning from the outcomes of their projects. Right. If you want to answer to the questions and
Yes,
comment.
I'll be happy to answer both of your questions. So the first is on the capacity building. The capacity building from the DBN, it's addressed from both the demand side and the supply side challenges. On the supply side, as we mentioned, that many of the financial institutions, they actually, in the onset of the project, they didn't have any MSME lending department because their mandate did not include MSME finance. They were interested in large blue chip corporations in oil sectors and whatever. But through the capacity building, we helped some of the institutions to develop MSME lending strategies, MSME lending policies, processes, and piloting MSME lending products. So through that, the banks has increased their willingness and ability to lend to MSMEs. From the demand side, there are issues associated with the MSME themselves, because in many cases, when those MSMEs do a loan application, they don't know how to write a business proposal. They say, I want to establish a business, but they have no plan. They don't know how to write a business plan. They don't know how to write a comprehensive loan application process. There's lack of documentation. So DBN also provide technical support for these MSMEs to enhance the skills. So it provides a comprehensive approach from both the demand and supply side. Secondly is on the replicability. So actually, yes. The partial credit guarantee, yes. So the partial credit guarantee, so the wholesale line of credit instruments address an issue, which is the liquidity mismatch issue. But the partial credit guarantee address a different kind of issue, which is the fact that the financial institutions are very risk averse. By combining the partial credit guarantee with the wholesale loans, it aims to de-risk this segment and provide more incentives for the financial institutions to extend their support to MSMEs and create a more inclusive and dynamic financial landscape. So lastly, on your replicability question, so in fact, based on the DBN model, the Ghana government has set up the Development Bank of Ghana. So now let me talk about the two fundamental success factors of DBN, because when we start the project design, we studied a whole bunch of development finance institutions in the world and generated lessons learned. Some of them succeeded, many of them failed. But DBN was established based on two key principles. One is a sound corporate governance framework. Because DBN was established as a public limited liability company, it was licensed by the Central Bank of Nigeria and as a wholesale development finance institution. From its onset, it has a very clear mandate, which is to channel wholesale, not retail, loans to the participating financial institutions, and always strives to achieve independent corporate governance. Because despite the fact that the Nigerian government was the largest stakeholder, the board and its executive management were selected in a fully transparent, fully competitive basis based on their professional qualification and experience. There were independent, non-executive directors always formed the majority of the boards to ensure that the decision-making takes consideration of their experience. Further, the World Bank and the European Investment Bank takes the board observer status that lends further confidence to its independent operation. So under this framework, DBN was able to focus on its core mandate, which is to address the MSME financing needs through the wholesale loans. Then the second key success factor is financial sustainability. Many of the DFIs in the world receive budget allocation from the government, but the DBN does not receive annual budget allocation. Its operation is based on financial sustainability. Its pricing is based on its operating costs and the risk assessment of each obligors, right? So DBN has always maintained a lean and efficient operating model, which led to a low cost-to-income ratio and a positive financial return since the onset of its operation. Further, actually, earlier this year, DBN has launched its first series of 100 billion naira domestic bond issuance. The first series was a 20 billion naira 5-year medium-term notes issued at an interest rate of 14.4%. This is a very remarkable interest rate in the context of Nigeria, and it was oversubscribed by 23 billion naira. This demonstrates, the investors' confidence in DBN as a sustainable institution. So actually, many of the countries are now approaching DBN. Yesterday, we got visitors from Minister of Gambia. We got Nigeria. We got Ethiopia. We got Ghana already set up the development bank, and Ethiopia and Kazakhstan are looking to learn from DBN's example. So I think the replicability is definitely one of the key elements. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Huda, you would like to have some comments on the question and the comment from...
Yes, I appreciate the question and the comment of replication in another countries. We did before for the knowledge sharing and knowledge management in Sudan and in Syria. I think maybe in this project, we have to design this model because this project is concerning the culture itself for the moment and the handicraft for the moment. And it needs a lot of budget for the language. We have to make everything in not the Arabic, the French language, the location language itself, the slogan, it's not the French itself. Some Africa is different from the language itself. So this is maybe a challenge, but we can make it in some language common for many countries. For the freelancing and English, I think it's there. We can replicate it anytime, like the e-work, so it can be replicated, all the courses, the IT courses, because the IT courses is there in Coursera, in many things, but giving the license free for and the budget for some another countries. But for women specific, people with disabilities, I think this is need some designs to include languages, to include culture, many things.
Thank you, Huda. Ghassan, please, if you have some comments.
Yes, thank you for your questions. Actually, we're now implemented the third replication of the project. Following to the success of the first one, which received the award, the project was replicated in the West Bank, the cash for work component, and now for the third time, which is the second time in Gaza. More than that, other actors working on Gaza on the cash for work modality adopted our project modality in the selection of beneficiaries and NGOs, employment cycles, stipend amount, how to select from poor families and all these things. So it's not only replicated, but also being adopted by other development partners in Gaza. In terms of the type of jobs on the e-work, they range from very simple tasks to more complicated. Simple tasks like labeling pictures, online secretarial work, to more complicated, maybe like translation, web development, mobile application, voiceover, cartoons, and I know women in Gaza, before the war, who were trained on this project, who were never employed and make like $4,000 a month. In Gaza, this is considered like a wealth.
Yeah. Last but not least, Mr. David, if you have some final comments, if you want to give.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to talk about replicability. So, building on the success of a small project we established before the funding, is that we want to replicate it to the Masai Mara and probably to the East African region on the part of Tanzania and Uganda. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending and paying attention to this session. Thank you.